Preface of Pearls. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by MaryAnnS. Pearls by W.J. Dakin. Preface. No one can be better aware of the defects in this little book than the author. It has been written with a view to giving a summary of the most important facts about pearls, pearl fishing, and pearl formation, and it is hoped by the writer that any sins of omission will be pardoned. There is no lack of literature on the subject of pearls, and some of the volumes which have been published on this subject are themselves of great value. They do not seem, however, to be easily within reach of the average reader, and they are nearly always written from non-biological points of view. The works on pearl formation are, on the other hand, usually very technical. The structure and natural history of the shellfish in which pearls are produced are hardly ever described outside scientific treatises. Hence the chapter on this subject. It seemed impossible to the author to describe the processes of pearl formation without reference to the structure of the shellfish. If it were only for common knowledge, a description of the anatomy of a mollusk should be interesting to the general reader, for very little idea of the structure of even an edible oyster or mussel seems to prevail. The book has been written by a biologist, from the point of view of a biologist, and owes much to previous writers who have treated the subject from other sides. To Professor Herdman, my former teacher, I owe very much, and his descriptions of the Ceylon banks have been very largely utilized. The writing up has only been accomplished through the assistance rendered by my wife, for by a curious coincidence it has to be written under the stress and strain of preparations for a removal to one of the countries referred to on many occasions in the text, Western Australia. Mr. H. Jackson, Master of Science, has very kindly undertaken the labor of proofreading. Without this help considerable delay would have occurred in the publication. To Mr. Chambers, of University College, London, I owe several interesting references to pearls in the classics, and Dr. Johnstone, of Liverpool, has read certain parts of the manuscript. If I have occasionally fallen into the pitfalls of becoming too technical, I trust that my readers will turn to the glossary, and I earnestly hope that it will help to clear up the difficulty. W.J.D. RMS Mongolia, Mediterranean, February 1913. End of preface. Chapter 1 of Pearls by W.J. Dakin. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by MaryAnn. Chapter 1. The History of Pearls. The use of pearls as jewels and their recognition as objects of value date back into the far beyond when the histories of ancient peoples were transcribed upon papyrus. It is very likely that pearls were amongst the earliest gems known to man, and this is not surprising when one considers that the earliest dwellers by the sea probably fed upon the shellfish which produced such objects. The modern recognition of the pearl dates back to about 300 B.C. and was due, no doubt, to the mad desire of the Romans for luxury and treasure. But although pearls seem to have played a less conspicuous part in ancient Greece and Egypt, they were known to yet older peoples, and especially to those of the East. The Old Testament only refers to pearls once, in the book of Job, chapter 28, where it is written, "No mention shall be made of coral or of pearls, for the price of wisdom is above rubies." None of the terms, however, refer with any certainty to the objects now known by such names. The names of gems in the Scripture have probably arisen during the many translations and rewritings of the books. In the New Testament, on the other hand, constant reference is made to pearls. There are, however, traditions which refer to the ancient Hebrews having knowledge of the true value of the gem. In the Indian seas pearls were known many centuries before Christ. Perhaps first collected as mere curiosities or as objects of some superstitious regard, they gradually became articles of greater and greater value, and the proud possessions of the princes of the East. References occur in the literature of India, which are of considerable antiquity. Pearls are mentioned in the books of the Brahmins, about 500 B.C., and are associated in Hindu literature with Krishna. The Chinese records go still further back, and Kunz and Stevenson relate that a book, the Shu King (2350 625 B.C.), states that in the 23rd century B.C. Yu received a tribute, oyster pearls from the river Huai. The early Chinese pearls were evidently taken from freshwater molluscs.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?